Hi YouTube, I bought this prop head from The Thing and I got it a long time ago and it's always been sat in my studio with all of my sculpts that I do. And when people see it they go, "Oh, did you make that?" And I have to say, "No, I bought that on eBay." So what I've decided to do is make a copy of this, then I can resell this one on eBay and I can have my own version of it. That way I can put that with all my other models and people will say, "Did you make that?" And then I can actually say, "Yes, I did." So this is how I'm going to do it. This is a whole load of like carrier bags and other sort of bags and things. And I'm actually going to use that for the kind of inside shape of the head. I've got some super PVA glue here, which is like flooring glue. I've got loads of sellotape, and you'll see how I use that later on in the video. Some wire, I'm not sure if I use the wire or not yet. And a sellotape dispenser, which is essential, and again you'll see why in a minute. So this is actually a really cheap way of making models. If you take carrier bags or other bags, really squash them together nice and firmly and then just wrap them with sellotape. I actually bulk bought a whole load of sellotape. I think I paid about £40, but I got like a few 200 or 300 rolls of sellotape and they've lasted me literally for years. So you can see here, just wrap it right around. That gives me the firm shape, roughly the shape of the head that I'm doing, and I could just keep adding to this. So with more carrier bags added, I've ended up with these two shapes, one for the left hand side head and the other for the right hand side head, and then these can be kind of positioned and then all sellotaped together afterwards. Again, I'm just trying to get the rough shape at this stage. I just found this piece of plywood in my shed, which is an ideal kind of size, and I've just drawn around with a biro here so you can see the edge of it. And I'll just cut that one down to size and round off the corners and sand it a little bit. This is what the base ended up looking like, and I've just drilled a couple of holes in the bottom, just put this upright support on it. You'll notice that the support is just slightly over to the left hand side because the neck kind of bends over that in that direction a little bit, so that gives me a bit of space. I then cut that support down, and this gives me the size of the neck, and then the head is going to actually kind of rest on top of this, and then I'll wrap loads of stuff around it to attach it on, so it'll be nice and solid in the end. You can see that's given me the right sort of height, and then I'll put the other head on after that. Right, this shows the base with the head put on and then lots of carrier bags and things added and loads of sellotape wrapped around it. This is already really nice and firm, but if you think about it, there's going to be so many extra layers and things on top of this, and I'll end up papier-mâchéing as well, so it'll become really solid in the end. You can see the other head there and how that's going to look on the side. Right, this is with more wrapping on the base. You can see lots of carrier bags, lots of sellotape, and it becomes firmer and firmer the more you do. This is with the other head added, and you can see here when you wrap it with sellotape you go in lots of directions. So I go right around the width, and then I've gone right around this middle piece lots and lots of times. Loads of different angles to try and get this on again as solidly as possible, but the most important thing is to keep putting it around that middle section. Just wrap it round and round, because this needs to be really firm, because obviously it's going to be taking the weight of this whole extra head. Now the rough shape is starting to take place, you can start adding more to it. So I can see straight away that this head on the right hand side needs to be taller, so I just added more to the top of it. Again, lots more sellotape, and then more of the same, just adding more. You can see I've added carrier bags on this left hand side to start making the bulge of the head on this bit, and then you can see in the middle as well, I've added that sort of yellow carrier bag more to the top to help show the sort of dome of the top of his head, and the yellow carrier bag in the middle there is just adding extra kind of support to that middle bit to keep them nice and firm. Basically, wherever I see a bump on the original head, I'm trying to match it on the head that I'm making. So you can see where sort of jowly bits are on the head here. I've just seen that bump, tried to match it on the other side. I'm not going for an absolute replica here, I'm just trying to make it sort of as close as I can, but I have actually looked at loads of photos on my laptop as well of the actual thing movie, you know, the scene from the movie, and I'm looking at reference materials from that as well, so I'm doing a mix of both. So obviously sculpts like this, they go through a lot of stages where they look a bit weird, and you just have to ignore that because you know, like in the end it'll work out okay. But each stage here I sort of turn the head around and just have a look at it and see that I'm getting sort of roughly the same shape each time. Like I say, I'm not fussed about matching it exactly, but I want to get it, you know, close. This is just to show you that by this stage I'd used 5 rolls of sellotape. So this still remains a really cheap way of building for me. If you're buying expensive sellotape, obviously that's going to cost quite a bit already, but this has only cost me about £1. This is where the main sort of fun begins. So you just take some kitchen paper and I just tear them into shapes that are a bit like this. So I'm getting rid of all the straight edges. I don't want any straight edges because they show up in your model. So all of this stuff that I've sort of ripped away from the edges, that'll just go in my daughter's hamster cage, and so it won't be wasted. But this is the stuff that I'm using. You can see it's all, you know, reasonably interesting shapes, but they're all kind of a bit random. Here's the super PVA glue. It's nice and thick. I wouldn't use just normal PVA glue for this, it wouldn't be strong enough. This sort of flooring glue or super PVA glue is brilliant, because even if you put it on like one sheet of kitchen paper and let it dry, if you then try to tear that, it's really quite difficult to tear even just with one sheet of kitchen paper. And obviously I'm building up layers one after the other, so you can see here on the model, put some glue on the actual sellotape bit, put the bit of kitchen paper on, and then I'm just putting glue over the top of the kitchen paper as well. This makes it really nice and wet, and it just means that it's going to dry and it'll be nice and stuck to the model, nice and firm. And then I just build up layer after layer. So after I've done a patch like that, I add some more glue to one side, and then I put my next piece on. And when you put your next piece on, you just make sure that you're overlapping it. It's just kind of you know, the sort of typical way you do papier-mâché really, just overlapping each time, building up layer after layer. The more layers you make, obviously the stronger it gets. And this is all going to help with, you know, attaching the one head to the other head, making it nice and firm. The more you put on, stronger it's going to be, and there'll be a lot of layers to do. But at this stage I'm just going to go over the whole lot that I've done already, the whole shape of the two heads together, down to the base, and then I'll show you it again at that stage. Like this. So this is how it's ended up looking with the kitchen paper on. It's probably about 3 or 4 layers of kitchen paper in total, but you really start to see the overall shape now. It's really strong, this. If you try to, you know, tear into this after it dries, it's really like rubber. You can see on the base I've just started attaching it to the wood at the bottom, and what I'll do is gradually add more and more kitchen paper to form a kind of smooth kind of transition into the base at the bottom, and that'll all help strengthen it even more. Okay, you can see this eyeball on the original one here. I mean, it's half covered up, but you can see the sort of rough size of it. So what I did was roll some aluminium foil. I actually end up making this a bit too big, and I use a marble instead in the end, but I'll show you this process anyway. So kitchen foil into a ball, then just a thin layer of MILLIPUT, and I just roll this around in my hands to get it nice and round. What you can do is, as the MILLIPUT starts to set, because it takes about 4 hours to set, you just get these 2 parts like this. MILLIPUT sponsors this channel, by the way, so go out and get yourself some and give it a try, because it's really good stuff. 2-part putty, mix the 2 parts together, and then it takes 4 hours to set rock hard. So yeah, as it starts to set, you can keep rolling it in your hand, so you can make actually really nice round smooth balls like this very easily. Right, for the external features of this, you can see that I've started off by putting a nose on. This is the long stretched tongue in the middle here. Again, these are just rough shapes, and I'll add to it and smooth it in later. I've got a lot of these kind of parts of the neck that sort of twist around here, just building them up very gradually. And then again, using Milliput, I've made all of these teeth. It's really a good idea if you're ever doing teeth to make them separately, because then you can let them harden, and then you've got essentially like these nice hard teeth. You can put some soft Milliput for some gums, and then you can just push these teeth into the gums. It's a really nice way of kind of positioning teeth and things while the gums are still soft. Just makes it a lot easier. Okay, this is it with the lips and the teeth and gums added, and an eyeball. I'll end up removing the eyeball later though because it was too big. So the lips were all made with aluminium foil and then just stuck on with the kitchen paper and PVA glue. The gums, you can see I've put them on, but they need to be softened in at the edges. So I'll just use some PVA glue and kitchen paper later just to merge them in a bit more. They kind of look like they're sticking out a bit much at the moment. The eyeball, you can just see there I added a bit more Milliput at the bottom to attach it, which is a shame. It was nice and firm, but then I have to cut it off later. The nose actually was a spare nose that I had from another model, which was about the right sort of size, so just stuck that on, and again sort of transitioned it onto the model with the kitchen paper and the PVA glue. So yeah, it's looking alright at this stage. It's starting to come together. Yeah, you can see here on the eyeball it was all nice and firm, and it would have been perfect, but yeah, I just realised it was too big, so I had to end up actually sawing it off. There's the nose, look. So yeah, it's starting to become more how I want it, but there's a lot to do yet. Okay, it took quite a lot of messy work to get it to this stage, because obviously every single kind of wrinkle that you see, every sort of crease and fold is all done with the kitchen paper, so it all involves kind of rolling up a lot of kitchen paper in PVA glue and getting PVA glue all over your fingers, and yeah, making a right old mess. But it is a really cheap way of doing it. So that massive tub of wood flooring glue that I had has lasted me for several years, and it cost, I think it was about £60, but it's got a lot of glue in it. And yeah, I did like a whole floor with it, and then I've got leftover as well from that. So you can see here I've started to build up all the kind of detail around the eye, loads of wrinkles all over the place. I've tried to match the ones from the original model mainly, but you use a bit of sort of artistic license from time to time. Maybe add a couple of extra ones, maybe lose a couple. It's just whatever kind of works really. This is looking nice where you do this kind of stretchy long ones that go right across the whole top of the head, so it really looks like kind of skin that's kind of hanging down. I can't wait to paint this at this stage. So for the first painting stage, I just mixed this flesh colour and put it over pretty much everything. So this is, I'm using System 3 acrylic paints, and this is just a mix of yellow ochre, white, and a little bit of processed magenta. Gives this nice flesh colour, and you can see it goes over all the kind of wrinkles and things nicely, and you're just trying to get it into all the little gaps and everything. So I don't water down the paint at this stage. It's put on nice and thick, and it actually kind of helps smooth in some of the kind of bigger wrinkles. If you've got wrinkles that are just a little bit too kind of cavernous, it goes in and fills them a little bit. Then the next stage was to fill in the really dark areas, so in the mouth, in the gap in the eye, and that kind of thing. So this colour was just a really dark red, really dark green, really dark bit of blue. So it gives it's actually a sort of a dark purpley kind of colour that it comes out like. And I think this really starts to look effective at this stage. I'd started painting a bit of the tongue as well, but I didn't really mean to do that. I was going to save that, so I stopped painting the tongue and waited for a bit. I'll show you that in the next stage. So this is with the tongue all filled in properly, and I've also done the lips as well. There are a few sort of little edges as well, like inside the nostril and that kind of thing, under the nostril. It just softens in the really dark colour into the flesh colour around it. The actual original model is not painted particularly well, you know, and this isn't how I normally paint. If you've seen any of my other sculpting videos, I normally paint in quite a bit more detail than this. This is just trying to keep it basic so it ends up looking as much like the sort of original model as possible. Yeah, I usually do dry brushing or, you know, wet washes and things for extra detail, but I don't end up doing that on this model at all. It really is just to try and match it with the original model. This was after taking some of the colour that I'd used for the tongue and the lips and just going into a lot of these kind of creases and things. So it's just like painting on with a thin brush, just painting lines basically in between all the wrinkles. And it does help them pop, you know, it helps the flesh bits kind of stand out a lot more. And yeah, just again, this is starting to look a lot more like the original one that I bought on eBay. You can see I haven't done the teeth yet, that's still the colour of MILLIPUT. And you can see the eye that is now a marble. That all needs to be painted next as well. This is with the eyeball painted and the teeth painted and also the base as well. So if you look at the eyeball here, you can see I painted it. It's not white, it's a very kind of dirty white, if you like. I think if it was white it'd just be too bright. Same with the teeth, they're the same colour as the eye, sort of off-white. And I think they show up a lot more, and I would really like them like this. A lot of kind of softening in of the edges of the lips and things as well. I think that's quite important to do, just a bit of that, just to give it a little bit of detail. And the base being nice and dark, that makes it, the whole model sort of pop a little bit as well, makes it stand out. Right, I could have left it how it was in the previous stage, but the original model has got a certain shine to it. So what I've done is I've coated all of this with a layer of the PVA glue, and you can see at the moment it's still wet. I thought I would show you it at this stage because obviously the glue appears white until it's dried, and it dries clear. So you can see here, like, it was a reasonably thick layer of the glue. And I think it protects the model as well. It certainly protects the paint, stops any paint from being kind of scratched off after it's finished. You can see here is a thick layer of the glue on the base, all showing up really white at the moment. I'll show you it again when it's finished, and you can see the difference when the glue has dried. But this will give it a shine that matches the original model. And this is how it's ended up, and I'm really pleased with it. I think it's a real nice kind of mix between the copy of the original head that I bought on eBay and images from the actual scene from the thing. So I'm really chuffed, and it'll go in my studio with all my other kind of models and things that I've made, and I'll actually be able to say, yeah, I made that one. So yeah, very chuffed about that. I hope you've liked this video. Check out my other videos. It's mainly movie creatures that I make, so things like gremlins, critters, yeah, loads of different things, but mainly like creepy little creatures basically. Check that out. Hit subscribe if you want to see more models that I make in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.